These are the kinds of technology stories that don't look huge at first, but their design choices and constraints had real consequences. From games and sound design to infrastructure and access, each one shows how small technical decisions can ripple outward. A game with almost no graphics still looked sellable because its puzzle was instantly readable. Sokoban was a tiny warehouse puzzle: move a worker, push crates, and park each crate on a target. The surprise was that 5 levels were enough to show a complete loop, so the idea felt finished instead of empty. A salesman could grasp it in seconds, the rules were visible, the challenge was obvious, and the product demo needed no language. That kind of clarity matters because a prototype can travel farther when its logic is easy to explain, even before polish arrives, and the sales decision often starts with a document. Luigi first appeared as a silhouette because early hardware could not spare detail, so the shadow came before the character. In the early 1980s, game screens had tiny pixel budgets, which meant every shape had to read instantly. The turn was technical: artists used a dark outline and a few bright marks to separate one character from the background. That shortcut made the figure readable on weak displays, and it let players recognize him before the design was fully polished. So Luigi's early silhouette shows a basic rule of game design: the machine set the limits, and identity grew from the rulebook of pixels. One machine's sound started with a crazy chihuahua, then got rebuilt into something mechanical and unsettling. Game audio teams often begin with a real source, because a familiar animal or machine gives them a shape to imitate. For Horizon Zero Dawn, the team used a chihuahua-like reference, then stretched its yelps, snaps, and whines into machine behavior. That process made the machine easier to read, so players could hear motion, aggression, and distance before they saw it. The trick was not copying a dog, but using one as a blueprint for behavior, and that kind of reference keeps game audio grounded in a real decision. Helene Pons turned bra support into a patent, and that mattered because it made the design repeatable instead of handmade. Before that, brassiere support was mostly soft shaping, so fit changed from one maker to the next and from one body to the next. Pons's patent described a wire-based support inside the cup, which held shape while the fabric carried the surface fit. That let manufacturers build the same support system in batches, so sizing, assembly, and quality control became much easier. The technical shift was simple: once support was defined as a mechanism, not just a shape, the garment could be made consistently at scale, and the patent became the record of that decision. 2 fan Pokémon games spent nearly a decade in development because volunteer teams still had to build, test, and polish the same systems a studio would. Pokémon Uranium and Pokémon Prism were fan-made projects, so the teams worked without a full staff, paid production pipeline, or easy spare time. The slow part was not just coding, it was iteration, meaning repeated redesigns to make battles, pacing, art, and bugs all fit together. Each fix could ripple through the whole project, so progress often meant revisiting earlier work instead of simply adding new content. That long timeline shows the hidden cost of fan development. Passion can start a project, but finishing it still depends on structure, time, and a lot of patient revision, leaving behind a final build decision. The guitarist ended up talking to Hatsune Miku because the song was built to sound like a reply, not a recording. Hatsune Miku is a virtual singer, and Vocaloid is the voice software that lets producers shape pitch, timing, and expression from notes. When the guitar part and the voice part were written together, the phrasing started to feel responsive, almost like call and answer. That turned the track into a duet with a character, so the performance felt less fixed and more interactive to the people making it. The bigger lesson is simple: a virtual character can become a creative partner when the music leaves room for response, and that idea still shapes how artists build a voice. Docip was providing negotiation infrastructure, a computer room where indigenous representatives could draft, print, and send documents fast. In international talks, the basics matter: a statement has to be written, checked, translated, and delivered before the next session starts. The turning point was access itself. Instead of waiting on outside help, representatives could produce their own materials inside the negotiation space. That meant quicker coordination, fewer delays, and a stronger ability to respond when information changed during the talks. So the room was not just a convenience, it was a tool that helped turn representation into work, one document and one decision at a time. HiAnime pulled more visitors because it was easier to reach than legal anime apps. That matters because most viewers do not start by comparing rights, they start by opening the fastest path to a show. If a site loads quickly, appears in search, and works on the first try, it lowers the effort of watching. The shift came from friction. Legal platforms often ask for accounts, app installs, regional limits, or extra steps, while a pirate site can feel immediate. That convenience gap can steer traffic before anyone weighs the trade-off. The immediate result was more visits flowing to the easiest option, even when legal competitors offered cleaner catalogs and better infrastructure. Search visibility and low-friction playback turned access into an advantage. The bigger lesson is practical. Audience behavior follows convenience, not just catalog size. When one route is simpler, it can collect attention before the user ever sees the alternatives, leaving a decision hidden in the interface. That's the pattern running through all 8 stories: hidden mechanisms, practical trade-offs, and unexpected adoption. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more factual deep dives, and tell us which detail surprised you most.